Mr. President need to look back and say, gentlemen, I have failed and I'm leaving the country worse off. But forgive me, I didn't.
People are saying that that 100 million loan that we took from China to build our new terminal is already a waste as we speak today.
My people, I beg, for those that support Tinubu and Atiku, I want to make una watch this video from the beginning to the end. Dey patient, so I know so na dey patient well. Dey patient, watch this video from beginning to the end. Then tell me if indeed you still dey support Tinubu or Atiku for this election. At least make I remind you in case. Remember say na Tinubu and Atiku stand for stage, carry their money, put everything wey dem get together, make sure say dem comot Goodluck Jonathan for power that time, carry Buhari put there. Na dem o. Now two of them don gang up. The other one dey come through PDP, the other one dey come through APC. So that no matter wetin happen, Nigerians must choose one out of the two of them.
The president, having made his statement, he is the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. When he came to office in 2015, he stayed for 6 good months to have a good time and a period where he could select the best lieutenants that would help him run the government smoothly. He made promises to Nigerians. Now we can judge him by fulfillment of those promises, if at all he performed well. He made lots of promises with regards to economy, and rather than improving the economy is worse off. Under his regime, it has never been this bad. When he came in, $1, I remember, was trading for about 198 Naira. Today, $1 is 700 and something Naira. In fact, it went up to 900 Naira before the central bank intervened in a way and manner which is not normal in economic circles. With regards to the security, when he came in, he made promises. He will end this, he will do that. Rather, insecurity escalated from what it was in the northeast to nearly every part of the country, and we are still living with it. Kidnapping and banditry became the thing of the day. People had to sell their property to rescue loved ones, and even at times these loved ones are killed. For the first time in Nigeria, like the Wild West, a train was stopped, and people from the train were taken out and kept in places within this country. We all believe that our military and security agencies know where the bandits are, but we believe because of lack of political will, these people continue to operate freely. Maybe lately, for the intervention of the National Assembly and the threat of impeachment, the president had to have this, dish out this political will to give the military real marching order. And we are hearing things happening. And I think in some areas, things are now improving, especially in the northwest. The president came in with a mindset, and maybe he came in as with that mindset of a military man, but he came into a political circle, and many things are determined by the political heavyweights up there in the north. And because of that, nepotism became the rule of the day. It's possible the president wanted to do things right, but these people who brought him to power had and still have overbearing influence on him, and there was lots of, and there is still lots of nepotism, to the extent that critical areas and leaders in the security architecture are headed by one section of the country, and that had been a problem to everybody. So when you measure the president based on these indices, you would say that the president has not performed well. And even the infrastructure, many of the credits being taken by the government are just cosmetic things done to what Goodluck Jonathan had done before he left office. So, Mr. President need to look back and be objective and say, gentlemen, I came in with the intention of doing X, Y, Z, but I have failed, and I'm leaving the country worse off. But forgive me, I didn't come to do this. Unfortunately, the vagaries of government has brought all this on us. We pray that Nigeria will get out of it. I think that would have been a better statement which will appease Nigerians and would look at the president as somebody who really wanted to do the right thing but couldn't because of political pressure that has weighed him down and weighed his policies down. But by assessment, his government has not done well.
All right, thank you, Dr. Pogo. And just with regard to your statement around the people around the president, despite his good intentions, yesterday during the broadcast of the president's 80th birthday celebration, the vice president had said that one of his strengths and sometimes a weapon is that once he gives you something to do, he just trusts that you will do it, whether or not he wouldn't go back to looking at it. So perhaps that was used as a tool a lot, or again, leadership, the buck stops with him. But let me come to you, Professor Adi. Since the president is saying that he has not been dealt with fairly and he won't miss Aso Rock because he's come under very stiff criticism, let's evaluate some of the successes of the president. Some of which are, some of his campaign promises, the second Niger bridge, even though not 100% completed, 95%, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, some key legislative assents that he's made, the PIA, the Petroleum Industry Act, the Electoral Reform Bill, we have the Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Bill amended 2022, and amidst others. I would like you, in your evaluation, before we move on to the bad and the ugly, to talk about the good. Is there any legacy of the current president? I'll start with you, Professor Adi.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thanks for having me on the program. I think his greatest legacy would be with the Electoral Reform Act, which he managed to sign into law. So again, I think the test of the pudding is in the eating. So we are yet to subject that to the test, and that will come starting from February next year. I wouldn't use the few governorship elections we've had in Ekiti and Oshu as a test case. So we'll be looking at the national election that will be happening in February. And at the end of that, the success of that will tell us whether that is actually a legacy that he will be looking back to with satisfaction, years down the line. And now the second Niger bridge that's been delivered is also, of course, a great one. And then the rail network, few of them have come into operation. But we also know that when it comes to the infrastructure, the technology, it's one thing to deliver, but it's another thing to really give Nigerians what they can really be confident with, or something that they will be proud about. We have the rail. One of them caught fire just the other day, or one of the what do you call them? Caught fire the other day on the track. And then we've had so many questions asked regarding the obsolescence of some of the technology used in delivering the rail. So when you look at that, well, it's something that we now have rails, but again, some section of Nigeria, I listened to Dr. Pogo speaking earlier, some segment of the country still feel that they've been marginalized, they were not covered in that infrastructure delivery. So yes, few successes here and there, but I think if you look at Nigerians today, if you take a poll, the average Nigerian will tell you that they become worse off during these 8 years than they've ever been. since you want me to focus on the successes, so the electoral reform, the PIB is another one. But again, they are still in the early stages. I wish that he managed to do this earlier on during his administration, such that we would have enough evidence to really do a proper evaluation. But these are just, laws that have just been signed, and we are still waiting for their full implementation and full rollout before we can see what they can actually achieve within the system. As it is, those are very crucial, reforms that will unlock resources for instance, the oil and gas sector. There are a lot of things is done with gas as well. I know that when it reaches full, once it begins to unroll, then we will see the benefit. But like I said, they are still in the early stages. These are reforms that should have been carried out, laws that he should have signed earlier on during his administration, so that by now we would have started seeing the benefits. So is it a case of too little, too late? Maybe something like that.
Okay, so two questions. Professor Adi, I'll come to Mr. Britus Pogu first, and you can also answer. For Mr. Britus Pogu, I'd like to talk about insecurity. There were killings in Kaduna recently, 38 people. The killing have been going on and on and on like that. Farmers now have to pay taxes in Niger. I mean, what's your take on all of that vis-a-vis the legacies of President Buhari? And Professor Adi, your question will be, speak to me, yes, you talked about infrastructure, but speak to me about the state of debt with those infrastructure. And take, for instance, do you know that the new terminal of the Lagos airport built can't be used by airlines now because of structural flaws and defects? So a lot of people are saying that 100 million loan that we took from China to build our new terminal is already a waste as we speak today, because that airport can't be used, airlines can't use it because of the structural defect. It was launched in March, till date no plane has landed there. I'll come to you, Mr. Britus Pogu. You can spend about a minute or two, then Professor Adi will come back to you. Dr. Pogu, you first. Yes, sir.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks so much. The infrastructural development, which is being applauded, and especially by the people in the presidency, not people outside, including even Bishop Kuka in his message. He said, yes, the man has made some achievements in infrastructure. But when you look at these developments vis-a-vis the pilferage, the stealing of our crude, that is the main source of the economic thrust of this country, that people are stealing more than we are exporting, and that we are living and surviving, and also doing all this infrastructural, having this infrastructural gains as a result of borrowing, to the extent that this country is so indebted now that only God will tell when we'll be able to get out of debt. You can see that everything done it has been brought to nullity based on the fact that it is based and financed by borrowed money, while we are our crude is being stolen on daily basis, and no crude can be stolen without the connivance of our Navy that actually monitors ships that come in and go out. So we can say the stealing is by government. It's unfortunate. So all this, when you look at it, whatever the infrastructural development, whatever, forget about even the flaws in the infrastructural development, the issue is we are being indebted unnecessarily by this government, and as a result we have an economy that is not moving forward. We are only retrogressing. It's an unfortunate development. It has overshadowed everything, and whatever they have done, when you compare it with what losses that they have supervised, because for government to be lackadaisical about what is happening to the extent that It took just recently Tom Polo revealing how much pilferage is going on, and that we are not even meeting our OPEC quota the first time. It's only during this regime. It's unfortunate.
Thank you so much.
So may God help us. May they come to the reality that, yes, things have gone wrong. Things are still going wrong. We will try and tidy things up before we hand over to the next government. That's my prayer.
Professor Adi, as we wrap up.
Well, thank you very much. I earlier spoke about the level, the obsolescence of some of the infrastructure that we have. They are not up to date. And then, so you're talking about the wrong way. And then Dr. Pogu talking about that. First of all, we use the wrong approach. We are coming from an administration that had prioritized public-private partnerships or the involvement of private expertise in the delivery of infrastructure. But when this current administration came on, they seem to reverse all of that, as we saw a kind of an approach that looked towards populism. I wrote an article at some point that Nigeria operated like a quasi-communist system, so where the decisions were highly centralized, and then they preferred to fund directly, using budgets, all infrastructure projects. And then what do we get as a result? This ballooning debt, and of course poor quality. If we had engaged the private sector, if we had used other methods to procure those infrastructure, definitely we could have gotten better value for money. But as it were, when you have a system that was highly characterized by nepotism, you can't rule out mediocrity and incompetence out of it. So that is actually what we have been saddled with. I mean, generally speaking, during Buhari's administration, I would say that he has supervised, Wole Soyinka wrote a book called The Season of Anomy. Anomy is a sociological theory of the 1930s, Robert Merton. He said that that anomic situation develops when people who have aspiration, people have goals they want to attain, but for some change in circumstances, they're no longer able to attain it. That results in social anomy. Then they react in either of 5 ways. Either they can conform, and then you have very few people who can conform because they are direct beneficiaries of that system. In our case, we have less than 1% of Nigerians who are close relatives of the president who have benefited immensely from his administration. Those are the conformists. Then next you have the innovators, people who can, let's see how we can make something out of a bad situation. And there are very few. And then you have the next group who are the ritualists. So people resort to ritualism. Ritualism is not that they begin to cut people's heads or something. No, so they operate life as a ritual. They just go about their business. Well, what can they do? Then you have people who reject the system. And then that's where the bulk of the nation is today. They have rejected the system. They have rejected everything. So they complain, but then they have no way to express their grievances. And then you have the last group who rebel against the rebellion. So you have a social rebellion, and that's what we are seeing today. The youth of this country are actually voting with their feet, as you see that they are migrating out of the country in large numbers. Our best, the able-bodied, young, well-trained, talented Nigerians are leaving to other countries. Why has that happened? Because of this season of anomy that the president, this administration has actually brought on the nation. It's a very sad situation. We never thought that we could get, it will get this bad. But unfortunately, that's what the last 7 years or almost 8 years now have brought us.
When I know that for this country, now you will see leader, where they handle public office, go do wetin no good. Then somebody go come and talk. Then everybody go to say, see the way they talk to elderly man, see the way they talk. Una head, they no correct. They're supposed to carry una go mechanic, make they go use spanner, repair that way they want una. So person where they do something way no good, una will they praise am. Now only this country's person go carry money wey belong to everybody, go carry and go hide them somewhere. They spend them, use am they buy motor, they drive. People wey get the money go come dey praise am, dey help am, dey watch the motor. If e pass, dem go dey hail am, babao, babao. Na only this country. Una no well. Una no well. See, go for Turkey. The governor of Istanbul for Turkey, e dey prison. As dem dey follow you talk, like him dey inside. They don lock am. Why? Because he don do something. He still be governor, but dem no even look say whether they carry am go throw am inside prison. Make you take note the way wey be say country wey wan make it better for them. The way they suppose to dey do. Go that place, make you see the way the country dey be. Na there Lagos dey copy this Lamata, this red line. Na there they dey copy am. That governor dey try o, but because of maybe one small mistake wey make, they don throw am inside. Na 2 years go spend. Men are dey here, men we dey here, they praise the one wey dey steal our money, wey dey carry wetin belong to us, dey spend. Make we dey praise them. Na so Nigeria go take better. Una see this man, this President Muhammadu Buhari, and this people wey be say na them, dey talk say na them make am president. You see all of them. People wey dey support them for all these things wey dey go on for this country like this now. Una no normal. Una no, as in una no be psychiatric hospital now una go go sef. Una no normal. Una no normal.